Okay, I'm kind of joking in the title, but I'm not really joking. I'm being a little bit serious. If you're unaware, Minecraft had a story mode. Yeah, the open world sandbox game had a story in a separate game developed by Telltale, and it was, it was all right. It was a kid's game at the end of the day, and I'm not going to critique the writing of a game meant for kids. It was a fun adventure in the Minecraft universe, but one thing that introduced into the Minecraft world was the Wither Storm, an eldritch, apocalyptic, almost Lovecraftian, world-eating entity. Yeah, kids game. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a Telltale game, meaning the Wither Storm was destined to just die at the hands of our hero, because that's how Telltale games work. However, somebody finally did the Wither Storm, in my opinion, some real justice. Crackers 2 added it into normal main game Minecraft through a mod, and oh my god, this mod is incredible, one of the best ever developed in my opinion, and I think it teaches us some surprisingly awesome lessons on how to do D&D villains right. If you want to create an amazing BBEG that will be memorable for your players for years to come, beyond just a single fight, watch this video, because the Wither Storm is about to teach us how to do it. So without further ado, let's learn some lessons from Minecraft of all things. Okay, so I'm well aware that a lot of you guys don't play Minecraft, so let me just give you the rundown of the Wither Storm. After spawning the Wither Storm in, it quickly begins to absorb the world. This is an evolving entity. Starts small and it gets big, really big. It's got gravity beams that it uses to suck up pieces of the world and suck up you and other creatures. It infests the world around it, turning creatures into twisted versions of themselves, empowering them with its wicked magics. It infects you as well, though you don't get infected in a good way, like getting empowered. You get infected in a bad way, like your health is constantly draining. There is literally nowhere you can hide from this thing. Go into a castle, it's gonna destroy it. Go underground, its sickness will slowly wither you away while its minions stalk you in the darkness. There is nowhere you could hide. You can even go to another dimension, but doing that won't protect your world. You've just left it abandoned for the Wither Storm to destroy it. It's never a passive entity. It's never on pause. If you run away and leave it alone, it will pursue you, and while it does so, it will destroy everything in its path. It never ever stops. This thing is an active calamity, an event, and that is the first lesson. It's an event, not a fight. Here's how a lot of D&D campaigns work. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The boss is either summoned at the last second, or maybe they're just chilling in their castle waiting. Ganondorf and Tears of the Kingdom style. And this is fine, by the way. I'm not trashing Ganondorf and Tears of the Kingdom by any means. That fight was awesome. But for the most part, Ganondorf was fairly passive. Like, yeah, he was doing things. His actions had an effect on the world, but he wasn't going out there to fight you. And that's how most D&D bosses are. They either get summoned or empowered at the last session. You probably have one fight with them, and then that's it. They're done. And that's okay. You know, if you want to do that, that's fine. But in my opinion, I think that there's another really cool way to do this that a lot of DMs don't take advantage of. The Wither Storm method, where the boss is constantly going around the world doing things without the player's intervention. There's this mentality that the players need to see everything. If the players aren't there, it doesn't happen. But that's dumb. That's stupid. The world does revolve around the players in certain ways, but still should be active in others. And nothing should be more active than the villain. The villain should be actively doing things, doing bad things, things that the players will see and experience. For example, there are so many campaigns where, like, Tiamat is unleashed, but Tiamat just is, like, chilling in a mountain waiting for the players to come up there and kill her. No, that's dumb. Have Tiamat come down from that mountain, destroy some cities, wreck some civilizations, be the apocalyptic entity that she was always meant to be, just like the Wither Storm. This thing is going around the world, sucking it up, killing everything in its path, stopping for nothing, and constantly following the player characters. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like the way I've always run Strahd von Zarovich in Curse of Strahd. If you're unaware, in Curse of Strahd, the main vampiric baddie, Strahd von Zarovich, regularly pops up to try and kill the players. Though in the book and in a lot of games, this is framed as more like playful, he's having a little bit of fun with them. And that's how I do it at first. Strahd pops up, he has a little play fight with the player characters, downs a couple of them, but he's not actively trying to kill you. He's just kind of showing off. But if the players are starting to gather relics to counter him, actually making progress and taking down his minions, Strahd takes them a lot more seriously. Strahd is now actively looking for you, and when he finds you, he's going to try and kill you. No place is safe from him. That's another thing I like about the Witherstorm. There is no safe haven. There's no running away from this thing. There's no hiding from this thing. It will always find you. In Curse of Strahd, there are certain areas that are considered safe, that you can hide from Strahd. Safe zones, safe havens, like the Vistani camp. Make them unsafe. Make them places that Strahd can go over and destroy. Make sure that there is no hiding place from your bad guy. It will make your players a lot more active. Put them on the back foot a little bit. Put them on a retreat, constantly looking for the next place to hide out so that the boss does not find them. In my own, admittedly failed Curse of Strahd game, one of the cooler moments was when Strahd took an undead army and rolled up on the Vistani camp because he knew the players were hiding out there. He wasn't doing that to be playful or to show off. The players had done something to tick him off, and he wanted them dead. Not tortured, not captured, he wanted them fully, completely, utterly dead. That's what he wanted, and he was being efficient about it. And that made the players afraid. That put them on the back foot. That made them run. Admittedly, I don't do this enough. I want more bosses that are active, that are doing things, that aren't just waiting around for the good guys to come and kill them with their magical items that they got. And yeah, speaking of magical items, in the Witherstorm mod, there are a number of items that are required in order to take down the Witherstorm. At first, you need the Formidabomb, and when that fails, you need to craft the command block tools. These are essentially legendary magical items that are needed to destroy this boss. And this is a pretty common trope, a fetch quest in order for the players to take down the final boss with their newly acquired magical legendary items. Vox Machina are doing this in Legend of Vox Machina at this very moment. In Season 2, they're on a fetch quest looking for the vestiges of divergence. That was a big part of Critical Role Campaign 1. However, my big problem with that method is that the legendary magical items in this case, the vestiges of divergence, they're largely separate from what the players are trying to kill, the Chroma Conclave. Now, in one way, this is a really cool thing that Matt did. It allowed him to expand his world, with each vestige being in a completely different location that the party need to actively pursue. But for the most part, the vestiges were removed from the dragon threat the party were trying to take down. In the Witherstorm mod, I cannot believe I'm comparing Critical Role to a Minecraft mod. What is my life? In the Witherstorm mod, the Witherstorm is what provides the items that are required. The Witherstorm spawns in a mini-boss known as a symbiote, which in itself is actually a really cool fight, using a variety of status conditions against the player characters, something I always recommend if you want to make your bosses more interesting, because simple damage, it's alright, but put the fear of God in your players with some status conditions like poisoned or exhaustion, and it's going to make the fight a lot more interesting. But that's a whole topic for another day. The point is, the symbiote that spawns underneath the Witherstorm, after you kill it, it's going to give you the command block book, which is required in order to create the variety of magical items that you need to take down the Great Beast. And I think having the big bad evil guy themselves be the catalyst for the items that you need in order to kill it, I really like the idea. Let's take Tiamat, for example. If Tiamat is flying around destroying civilizations, don't have your party go into the Feywild to find some Fey bow to take her down. Have the item that's needed to take her down be right under her feet. Maybe her scales, for example. You need scales of Tiamat in order to craft something to take down this great dragon. But obviously, you can't just knock them off yourself. You'll get instantly murdered. So you need to go through the sewers of a city she's at right now, a city she's destroyed. And while you're there's a bunch of refugees hiding out in the sewers, so you can see the after effects of Tiamat's destruction of this place. After going to the city, you need to go on a stealth mission, subtly taking down Tiamat's minions until you can gather up enough scales that have littered the ground to craft the weapon you need. Maybe after a failed stealth check, Tiamat will notice you and you need to go on a chase sequence. This provides a couple of opportunities. Number one, having the items be directly tied to the boss has the players and forces the players to experience the aftermath of the boss's actions. You're going into a city that Tiamat has destroyed. Same thing with the Witherstorm. In order to take down that symbiote creature, you need to go to the Witherstorm. You need to stealth past its gazing eyes in order to find this thing. And while doing that, you are walking around the destruction that the Witherstorm has wreaked upon your world. It's awesome. Forcing that will force your players to confront the effects, the consequences of this boss being in the world, and will motivate them all the more to destroy it. And on top of that, it provides some unique encounters. They can't take the boss down right now, so instead they're going to need to stealth past it or run away from it, allowing you to engage in some stealth or chase mechanics, separate from normal D&D combat. These are opportunities. Fighting is fun. I actually really enjoy combat, thanks to books like Fleeing Mortals, admittedly. But still, beyond combat, there's so much more to role-playing games. Show your party those aspects of the game, and they're going to enjoy a lot more. It's going to make the boss feel so much more dynamic, especially if this is taking place over the course of multiple sessions. It'll make the game way more intense and way more fun. It'll build the fear of the boss and build anticipation for that final confrontation. Speaking of the final confrontation, the Witherstorm's final confrontation takes place inside of its body. And while Cracker's Minecraft mod is not exactly the most mechanically deep fight in gaming, it's surprisingly more mechanically deep than most D&D fights. Let's be real, a lot of D&D battles are hit the boss and hope you do more damage to them before they deal damage to you. And that's it. That's the mechanics. And yeah, that's kind of lame. You know, we all know that D&D combat can drag if you don't spice it up a little. And surprisingly, this Witherstorm fight actually gives us a couple of good ideas as to how to do that. The Witherstorm does a few things. Your main goal in this fight is to destroy its heart inside of its body. And after hitting the heart, it will raise it up to put it out of your reach, and at the same time spawn in a variety of monsters to take you down. Now, of course, the Witherstorm itself is not a participant in this fight, but you don't need to do that in your own D&D game. You can have your boss actively participate, of course. But the main lesson here is minions are great. I love having minions in the final boss. Not enough people do this. Like, people say, oh, put minions into your fight. But, like, seriously, put minions into your fight. Like, exclamation point, capital letters, it'll make it so much better. Don't just have the minions do damage too, have them inflict status conditions. During this wither fight, the minions are giving you the withered effect, constantly eroding your health and making you waste valuable food during the battle. On top of that, sometimes the wither will spawn in a symbiote, those mini bosses from earlier, and this thing has a variety of effects. It'll light you on fire, it'll levitate you up into the air and smash you back to the ground. It'll try to push you out of the Witherstorm's body. There's lots of different things these creatures are doing beyond just dealing damage. Utilize status conditions, utilize minions, utilize mini bosses. Put everything against your players, more than just the damage that you're doing against them. Look, a lot of people talk about D&D just being a math problem, but often they frame their solution around describing things and sometimes being tactical with the abilities given. But use more than the abilities given. Add more to the fight. I would always rather have something with increased complexity than way too much simplicity in a D&D sense. When it's just a math problem, there is no enjoyment there. And no matter how much you describe during the math problem, I'm still going to see it as just a damage check. Have your fight be more than a damage check. Even if you're not doing like Destiny raid level in-game mechanics, you can do a lot more in the D&D sandbox than just hit the boss until it dies. Additionally, take a note from the Witherstorm. While the player is desperately looking for solutions to the Witherstorm problem, it has like 8 stages of evolution, some of which are directly caused by the player characters, making it far more terrifying over time. At one point, splitting it off into 3 creatures, which
Oh no! It's multiplying. It's undergoing mitosis.
If you can't do mechanics, just have it be an appearance. I mean, I just mocked describing earlier, but I mean, come on, description is good. It is cool. It doesn't make up for a lack of mechanics totally, but it does add a lot. And if you have your boss evolve over time, that's going to make your boss so much more intimidating. Who doesn't like a multi-phase battle? Also, have the arena around you change as well. I mean, during the Witherstorm fight, the command block that you need to break, the heart of this beast, it's rising up into the arena. Tentacles are constantly popping out, while Witherstorm heads are popping into the arena to levitate you up into the air and eat you alive. There's variety there. It's shifting, it's changing over time. It is actually adding mechanics into the battle. One thing I really hate about base D&D is that while you're fighting the bosses, they don't change, they don't shift, they're always doing the same thing. Like, a red dragon's always going to be using its fire breath and its wing attack. Fire breath, wing attack, tail, claws sometimes. That's it though. It's not going to change over time. One thing that I love about Flea Mortals, the Matt Colville monster manual, is that there are villain actions, added effects that drastically change the fight momentum over time. One thing I have in my own fights is that over the course of the battle, the boss is going to gain new abilities over time. Rarely are my bosses just doing the same thing over and over and over again, especially at the final level. With Vecna, my final boss in my last homebrew campaign, Vecna never repeated his actions multiple times. He had a basic attack combo, but the attack combo had different status conditions depending on how he cast it, and that resulted in my players constantly needing to deal with new effects. That's cool. That's awesome. Don't have your boss be repetitive. Don't let it grow stale. Actually, I think that's the lesson here. Don't let it grow stale. At the end here, all these lessons we've taken from the Witherstorm mod of all things is to have some variety, have some spice in your D&D game. Change it up. Have your monster be an active participant in the world. Have your final boss doing things to hurt the players in the world around them, evolving over time and shifting and changing. Don't let them be samey. Don't let them be boring. There's nothing worse than the bad guy who gets boring. There's so many opportunities in Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, unlike crackers, you don't need to program your final boss. You have so many more opportunities to make them interesting, beyond just the lessons that you can take away from the Witherstorm mod. So, yeah, go out there, create your dream BBEG, and have it really put the fear of God into your players, beyond just one fight in the final session. But yeah, there you go. I understand that this isn't going to be for everybody. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with just having your bad guy pop up at the very end. Nothing wrong with that at all. That can be really awesome. I just wanted to present something cool and new, at least new to me, that I haven't tried before. And if you're one of my players and thinking to yourself, oh God, is Crispy going to take these lessons and use them against us? Well, anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out RPG Horror Story series, where we talk about the best of the worst of Dungeons and Dragons. And while you're there in the cards, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment, The Witherstorm, to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Unless like, comment, subscribe, I will see you all next time. Farewell.